What's going on, YouTube? I hope you guys can hear me well. I just started this stream about 1 minute ago. I just wanted to watch the daily closing and give y'all the rundown and the brief of what has happened through the day. I'm gonna wait for a few more people to join, and let me know if you guys give me a thumbs up if you guys are here, if y'all see me. Actually, my video is hidden, so you should be able to hear me, not see me. But you should be seeing my screen right now, right? So, all right. A few people in chat. Yeah, give me a thumbs up if you hear me, guys. What's up, Life Size Box? What's going on, man? Awesome. Joseph Noddy. Yeah. We can see your screen. Okay, all good. All right, I'm gonna wait another minute to see if there's some stragglers waiting, and then we will get started, guys. Yeah, I was watching the daily close. So I wanted to make sure, I catch it, and then I can have something to talk about. Typically, my time frames that I like to watch are the 4-hour, 12-hour dailies, definitely. And then weekly and monthly is, where you get the real big picture, right? Something that I talk to my Cryptosomniacs all the time is zoom out, get the big picture of where the trend is. And, it makes life easier, right? You don't need to focus on the 15-minute, 30-minute, 1-hour charts. Go with the trend. The trend is your friend. There you go. All Keith Tompkins has to say is XRP. I love it. I love it. It's the Ripple train, I guess. All right, guys. Looks like I got a few people here. So I will get started. So let me start on the smaller time frames just to understand, what exactly has elapsed throughout the day. And then we will get to an understanding of where we are on the bigger time frames. So let's get right to it. Okay. So on the bigger time frames, guys, clearly we are flagging right above my top resistance level of 65.75. We are above it on the 30-minute time frame. We have essentially closed above it on the 1 hour as well. Let's see if we've closed above it on the 4 hour. We've closed above it on the 4 hour, another good sign. So at least, 1, 2, 3, 4 consecutive candles. We had 16 hours of, good strong closes above the 65.75 resistance level that we had, okay? And it was actually clearly support by this one candle, right? Now let's see on the daily how that looks. Okay. So on the daily, let me zoom in a little bit. Okay. So on the daily, we also closed above the 65.75 resistance level. Also a good sign, but clearly we cannot get past the 66.50 area. So that clearly is telling us that, okay, there is some resistance lying above us, and we are still stuck in this sideways ranging. And the way I see it, guys, is, we can't be here too long, okay? We already created a top right here. So as I mentioned earlier on my analysis, there's a double top scenario that was playing out. See this gold circle and this other gold circle? That is essentially your double top right there, okay, on the 4 hour. And then we had another bit of a double top right here around the 66.50 area. So that's one top right there, two tops, and we kind of just waterfall, on the way down, okay? Catching support at that 64.66 level. So, so here we are essentially at 65.97, and on the daily, we had a nice, green candle starting yesterday, and now we need to see if we're going to follow up. So let me open up some indicators and see exactly where we are as per the Ichimoku cloud, maybe some moving averages. I've been checking out the order books here and there, on tensor charts, guys. So this is, an area that I highly monitor. Okay, this is exactly what gives me an idea of, okay, where do I see, price and resistance levels. Sometimes it's not just about looking at a chart. Sometimes you have to be able to watch the order books. The order book flow essentially gives you a better idea of where the price could be facing resistance or could be facing support. So as you can see, there's a decent sized sell wall right here waiting for us at 66.80. Some other ones around 66.50. So all the way up, into the 6600s, we have some pretty sizable $1 million walls. This is on your BitMEX BTC US dollar pairing. Okay. And typically, these exchanges coordinate and they allow information to be passed onto other exchanges. So I would probably say that, the walls are around the same for other exchanges as well. Guys, give me a thumbs up if you're hearing me fine. I actually bought a new mic today because my Cryptosomniac community was not able to hear me. So I got to keep them happy. So I had to buy a new mic. But yeah, give me a thumbs up if you hear my voice and you're seeing my screen properly. All right, XRP, the standard. I do have some XRP information to talk about, so I'll get to that in a little bit. But, one thing I definitely want to talk about, guys, is, in this sideways range, right, guys, something that we've been stuck in. See this yellow block right here? Starting from middle of September and now till almost, the beginning of October, four days in, we are essentially just trading sideways between 6,800 and 6,384. That's literally all that's happening. Okay, and it's really nothing special. Okay, I don't see this area as bullish by any means. It's essentially just sideways chop trading. This is not really an area that I would recommend that you buy Bitcoin for trades. However, it is an area that could potentially be good for dollar cost averaging for things like Bitcoin and Ethereum and other alts that you may believe in, right? So some of the other alts I have talked about in my Cryptosomniac community, one of them being, Zilliqa or Ontology. This is not a shill. I don't really give a crap if you buy it or not. It's just something that I'm doing, and I've told my community that, hey, these altcoins are looking good because they're down about 70-80%. And back when people were struggling to get into something like Zilliqa when it was like 24 or 25 cents, now it's like 5 or 6 cents. So why the heck not, right? One of my philosophies is I always like to follow and trade in the direction of smart money, and smart money tells me that a lot of VCs, a lot of hedge funds have gotten early into ICOs such as Zilliqa and EOS and Ontology and Poly. So I kind of just like to follow smart money. If you don't want to, that's fine. You may be smarter than smart money, but I am not, right? So yeah, let's see what else we got here. I got some notes, guys, so I'm just going to go through this, okay? Another thing that I wanted to point out is this, okay? So when you feel like being bullish in this market, I want you to just zoom out in your chart, guys, okay? Just zoom out in your chart and then look at this chart kind of like this, okay? And now you'll be able to tell me that does this look like a bullish chart? And in my opinion, this is not a bullish chart, right? This tells me that the chart is largely in a macro downtrend, okay? It's essentially, giving you the same signs over and over again. We'll go over the bit of how order blocks work and demand zones work, but one thing to note first and foremost is that we are stuck in a perpetual downtrend since the beginning of January or end of December. Okay, the prices have gone from 20,000 to now 6,500, and if you don't think that's a bearish market, then man, you definitely need some serious help. But as far as my Cryptosomniac community goes, I have told y'all before again and again that we are in a bearish market. However, that does not mean that you don't need to trade at all. we do find fantastic opportunities for trading, for quick in and out, get in, get out, take your profits, take your money, go buy yourself some ice cream, and that's really it. That's how I like to trade. Because at the end of the day, right, the trend is your friend, right? Especially if you're longing a market, you don't want to long a market like this. It's just gonna, rip your hands out. But if you are shorting this market, it's a beautiful market to short. Okay, keep that in mind. So another thing that I wanted to point out is this chart right here. Let me pull it up. And let's go to line. Let's go to daily, and let's unhide this. So this is something that I mentioned, a few days back on my trading view. There is this white, symmetrical triangle forming, right? Symmetrical triangles actually have a 54% chance of a breakout to the upside, right? So 54% chance they break out to the upside. But remember, okay, that pattern is trapped in a larger descending triangle, okay, descending starting way back from March and now still holding us down. Okay, so the max height, I would say, of that symmetrical triangle is probably the height, probably the high of this descending line. So, around 68, 6900 if we were to break out literally in the next hour. Okay, and how do I know that? Well, it's very simple, right? You essentially grab the highs and try to touch the other highs, and to see if you can create a descending trend line. And it's something that we've been following, for months now. So it's nothing special, guys. It's not rocket science, right? TA and trading is really not that hard. What makes it really hard is people try to dump their emotions and simple psychology into assets, and that's how you become fodder for the bigger traders and whales, right? If everyone was patient in this market and they knew that, okay, this market is trading lower highs, I don't want to get in, I mean, prices will be back up. But the thing is, institutions and big traders do not want small retail whale or retail shrimps on their back while they're trying to swim on up. Okay, they want to have the entire control, almost dominant control of the market. So when they do decide to push up, there's no dumb retailers to hold them back, while they're consecutively selling their Bitcoin or whatever. Okay, awesome. Yes, so we do have a customized TD sequential indicator made by our very own James in our Cryptosomniac channel. If you just type it in, it's called TDDC, like that, and TDDC 13 right there, and it looks like this. Let me show you guys real quick. Oh, by the way, before I get there, let me show you guys that I also see a head and shoulders pattern forming. One second. One second. I'm having some trouble here. Okay. There we go. All right. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. There we go. Sorry about that, guys. Man, I don't know what happened here. There we go. Okay, so here's that head and shoulders pattern, right? We have the left shoulder right here forming at the beginning of September, the head forming in the middle, and the right shoulder forming essentially now at the end of September and beginning of October, right? So a break of this neckline right here, guys, which could be right around 6,400, high 6,300s, will essentially break this down at least to our next support, which is 6,384, or potentially the bottom of this rising trend line, which is right around 6,180. And if you look back on my chart, right, 6,100s is one of my big support levels. Okay, So if you guys, again, if you want to learn, how to do this stuff, please join our channel. I try to do educational videos once a week. Here's that 6120 level. See this red marked line right there? That's 6120 right there. Okay. To find out how that works, please join our channel and start asking questions. Start, learning and wanting to learn, and I am more than happy to teach, because I really do want everyone to succeed, guys. This market, it's no fun when you're making money and your friends aren't, right? And I consider everyone in our community to be my friend. So awesome. What else do we have here? Let me go back and check my notes. Yeah, so we talked about the double top at 6,800 and 65 or 6,650. What else do we have? I want to check Ethereum real quick. Okay, there's something on Ethereum that I wanted to talk about too. Okay, Ethereum is looking the same, right, guys? As you can see, Ethereum literally moves, like a dance to Bitcoin's music, and you can see that left shoulder forming, head forming, right shoulder forming, right? However, Ethereum is a little bit below the neckline. As I had mentioned in our channel, that you have a potential long opportunity here at this support of $216.19. As you can see, we hit the low of 214 bucks, $2 off, whatever. And if you took that trade, right, from 216, let's just say, you are now up about 2.2%. So not a bad gain, for the last day or two, right? Especially if you're longing with leverage. So, which I don't recommend you guys do, but if you do, don't use more than 3 or 5x. Okay. But again, Ethereum is essentially trapped in the same, choppy range that Bitcoin is trapped in. This green box right here, as you can see, there's nothing special about this trading range. I would say that this little area right here, this little jump up, was a deviation, and this is actually the range right here, which is anywhere between 230 and the bottom of 216. Okay, so this is the range that you want to trade in, right? If you catch a bounce right here, take a long up. One of your targets is 226, the other one is 230. Okay, that's kind of how you want to trade. Someone kept talking about XRP, so I'm going to go to XRP, right? People keep talking about Ripple is, decoupling from Bitcoin, and, it's going to start the next bull run. I don't know what you're smoking, but it must be really strong stuff. Because, I don't really know if you can make that kind of bold statement and, not see, again, the macro chart, right? Let me show you guys real quick. Okay, so what do we have on Ripple right here? Okay, so Ripple right here, or XRP, whatever the hell you want to call it now, from the high of, let's just say, $3.40, we came back all the way down to a quarter, literally a quarter, and now we're back, almost up 108% at its current price, right, from the bottom. Definitely a really good deal, guys. Listen, if you took this trade right down here, you clearly made a good amount of money. You basically doubled your money in like 10 days, and that's good. Kudos to you, right? But remember, like, Ripple has done that kind of stuff before, right? Even back here, it moved out from this kind of falling wedge, moved out, created a lower high, which it's technically doing right now, right? Because this is a high, lower high, lower high, and lower high. But you could say, okay, well, I do know that's at a lower high, but the prices have never been this low, and I believe that Bitcoin is about to start being bullish, and so I believe Ripple is going to start moving up from this block, towards $1, $2, or whatever, right? That's a fair argument, but I don't think Bitcoin has given you any signs like that. Okay, and I'll tell you why, right? So let's go to the bigger time frame charts on Bitcoin. Okay, so here's Bitcoin on the weekly chart. Let me pull that up real quick. Okay, so here's Bitcoin on the weekly chart, right? On the weekly chart, as you can see, again, still a macro downtrend, right? back here in 2014, 15, and 16, right, Bitcoin took almost 2 years, 2 full years in a bearish market, and then found this support for the rising trend line, as well as this 200 moving average, right? And you guys know that I've spoken about this multiple times, right? This rising trend line right here was resistance once, resistance twice, and support multiple times, right? Support once, twice, 3 times, 4 times back here, and then kept moving on up. So I would expect that Bitcoin come, to pay its respects to the trend line again, and the moving average of 200 right here on the weekly. As you can see, touched it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, and then took off and moved on up. Okay, I see the same meeting happening in conjunction of the rising trend line and the 200 moving average, probably around anywhere between 3,500 to 4,500, maybe even the max of 5,000. But your next blocks, right, that you should be looking for is 5,500, right? So if we break 6,000, 5,800 is the next, right, which was the low in June, I think, and then 5,500 is the next one. Okay, and let me check if that's June right there. Low is 57.77. This is an aggregate. A BLX is an aggregate of multiple exchanges, so I think it just grabs, sort of an average. So yeah. Anyway, $5,800, right? So my next support will be 5,500. And why do I say 5,500, right? So once we had this big move up, we had this strong down candle in November, and then we just took off for like the next 5 weeks, it seems. And so the way I like to do it is kind of like this, okay? Let me see something else. Maybe this chart right here. Yeah, so this is another thing that I pointed out. Watch for the monthly closing of September, right? This was what I had pointed out. I will get to that weekly. Please remind me if I forget. But I wanted to show you guys exactly how the monthly closed this month and why it still signifies a macro downtrend. So my story of threes was that, every third candle after that high of 20K in November, we've closed lower than the preceding 3 candles. Okay, so you can see that March closed at 69.28, which was lower than this one and lower than this one. April closed higher because remember, green candles close on the way up, red candles open on the way up, and they close on the way down. Okay, so March closed at 69.28. April and May closed higher than the March low, right? The March close. And then June, right? Again, 1, 2, third candle closed at 63.84. And then 1, 2, the next candles closed above the closing of the June candle, right? And now October also gave us somewhat, mixed signals because we haven't really gotten anything from September. It's essentially a close right in the middle. But, September actually did close lower than the previous August month, okay? So, and it actually technically closed lower than this July month too, because remember, green candles closed to the upside, red candles closed to the downside, right? So September closed lower than August and July. So again, macro bearish. All right, let me go back to the weekly before I forget. So let me show you guys something. Okay, so we're gonna do something special here. So watch this. Okay, so here's that big, removal of retailers. Okay, this is essentially a panic shift in the market to create a little bit of a FUD or weeding out of retailers, right? Before the next big strong move is right above, right? And only institutional traders know exactly how high they're about to push this up. So here's what they did. They pushed it all the way up to 74, 7,500, right? And then dumped it from the high of 7,800 to the low of almost 5,500. So almost a $2,300 drop. And they did this in 1 week, right? And they do this because you want to shake out as many retail investors, and then you just place a nice fat buy wall, at the low, and then you just start, rocketing up to the moon right after that. Because remember, once they bought all your Bitcoin, when you sold in a panic, they just took it all, and they just took it to 20K, literally, quadrupled the price in less than 5 or 6 weeks. Okay, that is, classic, order book flow, and how institutions, weed out average retail investors. Okay. All right. So let me show you guys what I was talking about. Yeah, guys, give me a thumbs up if you like my analysis thus far. So here's how we do this. Okay. So we're gonna grab the open of this candle. Okay. So the open of the candle was 7,300. And the closing was, let's just grab the entire range. Okay, let's just grab the entire range, because I feel like, there's a lot of funky stuff happening in this move right here. So let's grab it right there. I think that's about it. Okay, so this is the entire range of the candle, right, guys? That's this candle right here. Okay, so as you can see, right, once we dropped off from the top from 20K, we bounced out into this, this would be called your demand zone, your order block, whatever you want to call it. And then we bounced out, creating a lower high right here at 11.7K. I don't know if you guys remember this, but then we came back down again, swung out, did not have as strong of a bounce. Clearly, we closed, because back here in February, we had this, this could be like a long-legged doji, or not really a hammer, but yeah, basically a long-legged doji, right? As you can see, we bounced out from this level, right? Came back here into March, closed candles a lot lower than the February one, right? And so then we struggled for almost 2 to 3 weeks to get out of this order block. Lots of buyers trying to absorb all the supply that's coming their way, and they absorbed it successfully. Boom, we moved out 10K, right? Came back down for almost 2 consecutive months. We literally spent, half a week right there. So that's half a week. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, almost 9 weeks. Okay, because we spent this half and this half of the candles right here. And so 9 weeks we spent in this order block, barely made it out of it, right? Half a week and half a week right there, and then came back down again. And now we're literally just in that order block, that demand zone. Okay, so you could make the argument that this is, a huge accumulation zone. There's a lot of buyers essentially buying everything, maybe, but the thing is, guys, you want to see somewhat of a successful bounce if the asset itself touches the demand zone every time, right? We should at least see a successful bounce to the upside, at least trying to break past these levels of 11,700, or even, somewhat get closer to 14, 15K. But as you can see, it's just getting lower and lower, and you've created lower highs, and that has essentially just given you a descending triangle, which is a bearish pattern that breaks to the downside almost 60 to 70% of the time. Now, I'm not saying that we cannot be the 30%, okay, where we break to the upside, but the candle in the chart itself is telling you literally that, hey, I've created a lower high right here, I created lower high, lower high, lower high, and now we're just essentially just floating sideways right into the apex, right? Apex is essentially where the descending line meets the sideways bottom support, right? So, and you have your signal of a lot of bearish behavior, yet you continue to think that we are irrationally exuberant about the bullishness of this market. But don't be, right? Seriously, this is a time for you to preserve your capital, dollar cost average, but don't make dumb trades. Okay, if you want to buy some of the alts, maybe slowly place some small buy orders here and there, but don't go big, don't go all out. Okay, all right. What else do we have? Another thing on the weekly chart. What else I want to show you guys is this I've showed before, right? Let's see. So I've showed you guys how we are essentially trapped in this descending channel right here. Okay, kind of like this. Doesn't need to be perfect, but we are trapped in it. Okay, that's your descending channel. Okay, and if you look back on Bitcoin, guys, we have not touched the oversold levels. Let me pull this up. Actually, we have not touched the oversold levels since back in 2015, right? As you can see, once we breached the oversold levels, boom, we just kind of took off. Okay, we never looked back, essentially till, you know, obviously the beginning of beginning of December 2017. Then we've created lower highs, right? So parallel channel, we're trapped in it, okay, like that. And we've created lower highs like this. So this is your high, right? So let me mark that green. And then your lower high is right there. Let me mark that red. And then lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, and lower high. Okay, so you have lower highs, you know, perpetually all the way from the beginning of December. So clearly, again, your RSI is telling you that we are not in the oversold levels yet, as per the weekly chart. Okay, and then I will get to the I'm gonna get to the quarterly chart here, because I think the quarterly chart also shows something interesting, and this is where I somewhat get a little bit bullish, right? And the quarterly, I mean, I typically like to look at in terms of the stock market, just because the stock market actually has enough data, but Bitcoin, you know, only has technically 5 or 7 years of good data. So here's your quarterly chart, right? So 1 quarter, we have some less volatility, you know, flat candles right there. So that's 1 quarter, 2 quarters, so that's 6 months, and then we start our bull run. Back here, 1 quarter, 2 quarters, start our bull run. Okay, so if we were to essentially follow that same pattern, we'd have 1 quarter, 2 quarters. This should be the start of our bull run right here, at least the beginning of it, right? But again, you know, the environment and the technicals of Bitcoin have changed significantly. You know, I think the FOMO that was created in Bitcoin last year, I think was, you know, probably unaccounted for. You know, there's a large speculation that Tether and, you know, other whale traders essentially pumped up the price, and the price should have never gone to 20,000, but it did, and you know, that's a fact. Now we just have to see exactly if this is the right time to buy, or is Bitcoin going to have more downside, right? I personally think there will be more downside, but we shall see. Okay, so give me some questions, guys. WSR, if Bitcoin drops below, do you believe alts will tank? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, alts are fully dependent on Bitcoin, you know, essentially climbing out of its slump. Okay, fully. I mean, it's not even close. Like, as you can see, you know, Bitcoin stands stronger than any alt, right, out there, right? Whether it's Ethereum, EOS, Neo, whatever the hell you want to call it. Bitcoin is only down 65 or 67%. Ethereum and other altcoins are down at least 70 to 80 to 90%, you know. So, I mean, you can easily see that, you know, Bitcoin is the dominant market dictator. Okay. Do you believe alts will tank? 2x compared to Bitcoin, more or less. I don't know what that means. Any other questions, guys? Let me know if y'all have any other questions. Let's see. Oh yeah, let's look at the stock market. So I was looking at the stock market this morning. This is the American stock market, so sorry for those of you who you know, did not or not in the US. Something that I wanted to point out is, and again, this is not investment advice by any means. This is just something that I see. Here's the weekly chart in the stock market, right? So here's your higher high in price, right? So you have a movement in price from this high to this high right here, okay? And then you have a lower high and almost a decline in your RSI. So what do we call that, guys? That is a bearish divergence. Price moves to higher highs, yet the indicators themselves are turning to higher or lower highs, okay? I would expect a little bit of a pullback in the market, especially given the fact that we are on a green 13 on the weekly, right? As you very well know, after a green 13, typically you are expected to have a pullback of 1 to 4 candles, but you know, it is the stock market. They like to push up on multiple 13 counts, as you can see back here. 1, 2, 3, 4, topped off 4 after the 13. Even over here, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2 months almost after the 13. So who knows? This could go higher, but you are, as you very well see, already seeing bearish divergence. Okay, something to keep in mind. Watch for the 50 moving average to give you support. Awesome. Let me see what else we got. If Binance makes XRP a base pairing, what effect would that have on XRP decoupling? I don't think, well, what do you mean base pairing? Like, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. I think, you know, it will rise in price a little bit, but I don't think that it's going to, have that large of an impact on price and market cap. Because if you think about it, having a base pairing, you know, on Binance doesn't mean anything, because all that means is you have now allowed another avenue for you to buy alts, right? So, you know, whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tether, or Binance Coin, it's not like, you know, any of them have gained market share in the past few months just because they have, you know, their own base pairing, right? So that's kind of how I would look at that. While Binance decentralized exchange using BNB increased price on BNB, to what extent? I don't really think that Binance Coin is essentially going to break out of the descending. Let me pull up the Binance chart. 1 second. Okay, so here's the Binance chart right there. This was one of my calls that I had made a while back, right? And I had mentioned that, you know, this is the trading range of Binance, okay, or BNB coin. Let me turn these off. Let me turn this off, this TD off. So here's the trading range of Binance coin. It's this one right here, right? Which is 18654, and then the low of 14,000. And so as you can see, we're essentially just traversing sideways in this, you know, sidewards resistance up here and support down here. Okay, and as you can see, Bitcoin has largely suppressed, you know, any movements that Binance has had or wanted to have, and now it's just kind of trickling just sideways. I don't think that Binance will move due to any product releases or any, you know, bullish news, because remember, at the end of the day, you know, Daddy Bitcoin runs the entire market. What fundamental news, if any, would convince you a reversal? So here's the thing, WSR. In a bearish market, fundamental news rarely moves the market to the upside, okay? In a bullish market, bearish news, you know, rarely dumps a market to the downside, meaning, you know, it doesn't just start a reversal. You may have a pullback, you know, same thing vice versa, where, you know, in a bearish market, bullish news might move it up a little bit, but it doesn't change the trend, the trend itself is because there are significant issues in the market that have not yet been fixed, such as fraud and manipulation in the market itself amongst exchanges, collusion, not enough adoption. The average retail investor has pretty much left, right? This is all old money that's being recycled in the market. There's no one, there's no, if you go to your cab driver or your average retail investor, I think in America it's like 8% of people or something know of Bitcoin, and even like half of that or even somewhat invested in Bitcoin. So very little demand, right? And to generate that demand, you need to have significant adoption, and especially adoption on a wide scale. You want to have adoption in terms of different use cases across the board, whether it be different industries and corporations. You want to see people using Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies on average, whether it's to buy a plane ticket or a cup of coffee, whether it's to start giving up your computer storage for storage coins or whatever, something like that, right? But I just haven't seen enough of that, and so I think there's many rules that must first be fulfilled in terms of being able to start your new bull run. And until that happens, I think there's still a decent amount of chance that we are still going to have more downside. But remember, I am bearish only in the short and medium term here, right? So I'm going to start being bullish when I start seeing price dump at least till low 5,000s, maybe 4,000s, maybe 3,000s, and then that by that time I think hopefully another 3 to 6 months will have elapsed, 2 more quarters, maybe 3 more quarters, and then that might give technology itself to become more prevalent and mature more, right? And so then we can talk about more people potentially wanting to buy crypto. So yeah, less than 1% of the people in the world are invested in Bitcoin. I would probably say it's a lot lower than that too. I'm gonna say it's probably like no more than 20 to 30 million people all over the world who own a little bit of Bitcoin or in some way have heard of it. Yeah, guys, and even if they have some Bitcoin or had some, they probably sold because they panicked at the market dumping, and they probably sold at like 6K. So that's just how people are, right? But yeah, still a long way to go, guys, in terms of fundamentals, so anyway, I've got to do a private stream for my Cryptosomniac community. So if you are an Advantage member, please just hang tight for 5 minutes and I will be back on. But that is it for my stream today, guys. Hopefully please invest smartly. Please do your best to preserve your capital, not piss it away in the market. And good luck to you. I really hope you guys and wish you the best of everything in this market. Okay, cheers. And if you are part of the Cryptosomniac community, I will see you guys very soon. Okay, all right, cheers.